The scalpel trembled in Alex's hand for the first time in 15 years, hovering over the exposed chest cavity like a ghost refusing to fade. "Good? No, not him," he whispered to the sterile air of the ore, his voice cracking like thunder in a bottle, as the monitors screamed Eric's name in erratic beeps. In that frozen instant, the man on the table wasn't just a patient. He was the love Alex had buried alive, clawing its way back from the grave to demand its due. Eric's eyes fluttered open mid-incision, locking onto Alex's masked face with a gaze that burned through latex and regret. "You left me to die once," he rasped, blood bubbling at his lips. "Don't make it twice." The rain-slicked streets of Seattle gleamed under the sodium glow of street lamps, turning the Emerald City into a watercolor smear of neon and regret. Eric Harlan gripped the steering wheel of his beat-up Ford Escape, knuckles white as bone, the wipers slapping a frantic rhythm against the downpour. It was 2:17 a.m. on a Tuesday in late October, the kind of night where the Puget Sound fog rolled in thick enough to choke on. And Eric was chasing ghosts again. Not the kind with sheets and chains, but the living, breathing sort, the man who'd carved out his heart and left the cavity empty, walking away without so much as a backward glance. He'd come back to Seattle for this, after 8 years in Chicago, building a life from the ashes of that betrayal, scraping together a freelance graphic design gig that paid the bills but starved the soul? Yeah. He'd come back. For his mom, Evelyn, whose voice had trembled over the phone last week. "It's the big C, baby. Stage 4. Doctors say months. If we're lucky. Pancreatic cancer didn't give a damn about your plans or your grudges." So here he was, barreling down I-5, the Space Needle mocking him from the skyline like a middle finger from fate. The pain hit first as a dull ache, like indigestion from that greasy diner burger he'd scarfed an hour ago. Eric rubbed his chest absently, blaming the stress, the jet lag from the red-eye flight. But then it bloomed, sharp, vice-like, radiating down his left arm like liquid fire. "Shit," he gasped, swerving into the breakdown lane as cars humped past in a blur. His vision tunneled, the dashboard lights fracturing into prisms. He fumbled for his phone, thumb hovering over 911. But pride, or was it fear, made him dial Evelyn instead. "Mom? I think something's wrong." His voice was a wheeze, the words slurring as sweat beaded cold on his forehead. She was already at Swedish Medical Center, hooked to IVs and monitors, but her reply was steel wrapped in silk. "Pull over. And call for help. Damn it. You're all I've got left." He did pull over, tires crunching gravel on the shoulder. The phone slipped from numb fingers, clattering to the floorboard. As blackness crept in from the edges, Eric's last coherent thought was a bitter laugh. Of course it ends like this. Alone on the side of the road, heart giving out like the coward who broke it. Then sirens wailed in the distance. Too late or just in time, he couldn't tell. Alex Rivera scrubbed in with mechanical precision, the hot water scalding his skin like penance he didn't deserve. Or did he? At 38? He was the wunderkind of cardiothoracic surgery at Swedish, the guy they called in when lesser hands faltered. The heartbreaker, his residents joked behind his back, not knowing the irony cut deeper than any blade. Tonight, Thea had dumped a John Doe on his table, mid-30s male. Acute myocardial infarction, ejection fraction in the toilet. Classic STEMI. But when the nurses peeled back the sodden jacket and wiped away the mud, Alex's world tilted. Eric Harlan. The name on the chart hit like a defibrillator paddle. Those hazel eyes, even glazed with morphine, were unmistakable. The faint scar on his collarbone from that stupid mountain biking accident in the Cascades, the one Alex had kissed better under a blanket of stars. 8 years evaporated in the glare of the ore lights, leaving Alex adrift in a sea of what-ifs. Rivera, his lead nurse, Ria, snapped her fingers, gloved hands steady. "We good to proceed?" "Guys crashing." Alex blinked, the scalpel suddenly foreign in his palm. "Yeah." "Median sternotomy." "Get the pump ready." His voice was steady, years of drilling had made it so, but inside, the fault lines cracked. How the hell was Eric here? Last Alex knew, he'd fled to the Midwest. Scorched earth behind him. Their blowout had been nuclear, Alex? Terrified of the whispers in the halls of his residency program, choosing ambition over authenticity. "I can't. Not now. Not like this." The words had tasted like ash then, and they burned hotter now. The incision was textbook, clean, efficient. The bone saw humming through ribs like butter. But as the retractors spread the cavity wide, exposing the bruised, stuttering heart beneath, Alex's hands shook. This organ, this fragile engine of life and love, had once beat in sync with his own. Now it quivered, betrayed by plaque and time, demanding he fix what he'd shattered. "Clamp the aorta," he barked, forcing focus. The team moved like a well-oiled machine, perfusionist priming the heart-lung machine with a whir. Eric's body went still, cooled to a hypothermic limbo, but his face, that face, haunted the periphery, pale and slack under the drape. Memories flooded unbidden, their first meeting at a dive bar in Capitol Hill. Pride flags fluttering outside like promises. All fire and freckles. Sketching logos on napkins while Alex nursed a whiskey, fresh off a 12-hour shift. "Your trouble," Alex had said. But he'd leaned in anyway, drawn to the spark in those eyes. Months blurred into a fever dream, lazy Sundays in Alex's cramped apartment overlooking Lake Union. Bodies tangled in sheets that smelled of salt and sweat. Eric's laugh, low and rumbling like thunder over the sound. The way he'd trace Alex's knuckles with his thumb during stolen moments in hospital stairwells. Whispering, "This is worth it. We're worth it." But fear had a sharper edge. Alex's family back in Miami, staunch Catholics. His father's belt a ghost in every holiday call. The residency director's sidelong glances when rumors swirled. "You're on the fast track, Rivera. Don't derail it for distractions." So Alex had derailed them instead. One night, after a brutal case left him hollow, he'd packed Eric's things into a box and left it on the doorstep. No note. No call. Just silence, thick as Seattle fog. The surgery dragged, 2 hours of meticulous repair, grafting a vein from Eric's leg to bypass the widowmaker. Alex sutured with the precision of a man threading a needle through his own soul, every stitch a confession unspoken. When the heart shocked back to rhythm, a steady beep filling the room, relief crashed over him like a wave. But victory tasted sour. In recovery, Alex lingered outside the ICU bay, chart in hand like a shield. Eric was stable, Intubated and sedated. Monitors whispering vitals in the dim light. A nurse bustled past, shooting him a curious look. "You know him?" "Doc. Old friend," Alex lied, the words sticking like burrs. He should have walked away. Should have transferred the case. Buried the past under protocols and post-ops. But as dawn crept through the blinds, painting Eric's face in soft grays, Alex pulled up a stool. "I'm sorry," he murmured to the unconscious form. The apology a dam breaking after years of drought. "I was a coward. And now you're here. And I don't know how to fix us." Eric stirred then, eyelids fluttering like moth wings. The tube muffled his groan, but his hand twitched, fingers curling as if reaching for something lost. Alex took it, calloused from pencils and pixels, and held on, the rain outside easing to a patter, as if the city itself held its breath. By midday, Evelyn Harlan arrived. A whirlwind of floral scarf and fierce eyes, wheeled in by a volunteer. She took one look at Alex hovering by the bed and froze, recognition dawning like a storm cloud. She said, voice low and laced with venom. "The one who gutted my boy." Alex straightened, badge glinting under the fluorescence. "Mrs. Harlan." "I save it, Doctor." She wheeled closer, her grip on the chair arms white-knuckled. "You think a white coat erases what you did? He hasn't dated since. Hasn't trusted anyone. And now this." She gestured at the tangle of tubes snaking from Eric's chest. "Karma's a bitch with a scalpel, isn't it?" He had no defense. Evelyn's words landed like punches, each one echoing the self-recriminations he'd nursed in therapy sessions he never stuck with. "I operated on him last night. He's stable. For now." Her eyes narrowed, appraising. "But if he wakes up and sees you, it'll kill him faster than any clot." She paused, the fight draining into weary resignation. "He's always been too soft-hearted. That's why you're still breathing." As she settled by her son's side, murmuring prayers in the quiet, Alex retreated to the lounge, coffee going cold in his mug. The hospital buzzed around him, pages crackling, carts rattling, but he was adrift, the weight of reunion pressing like an anvil. Eric waking up meant confrontation. Meant dredging the silt of abandonment. The nights Eric had spent pacing Alex's block, begging for answers that never came. He pulled out his phone, thumbing through old photos buried in a hidden album, Eric grinning at a ferry dock. Wind-tousled hair, the two of them at Golden Gardens, toes in the surf, kisses tasting of saltwater. Delete? Forward? To whom? His empty apartment? Instead, Alex texted his sister in Florida, "Remember that guy from Seattle? He's back. And I just saved his life." Her reply pinged instant. "Karma or kismet? Fix it, hermano. Or let him go for real. Fix it." As if love were a valve he could reroute. But by evening, when the charge nurse called him in, patience extubating, "Wants to talk," Alex knew the "or" was the easy part. The real surgery waited in those hazel eyes. Eric's voice was gravel when he spoke, monitors beeping a steady underscore. "Water." Alex poured from the pitcher, steadying the cup to cracked lips. Their fingers brushed, electric, involuntary, and Eric's eyes snapped open fully, locking on. Recognition hit like a freight train. He jerked back, spilling water down his gown, the plastic cup clattering to the floor. "You," Eric croaked. The word a blade. "Get out." The ICU room shrank under the weight of that single syllable, the air thickening with 8 years of unspoken fury. Alex froze, cup still in hand, water pooling at his feet like spilled secrets. Nurses hovered at the periphery, sensing the shift from medical to personal, but Evelyn's sharp glance kept them at bay. "Give us a minute, folks," she said, her voice brooking no argument. Eric's chest rose and fell in shallow huffs, the fresh incision pulling taut with every breath. His face, paler than Alex remembered, hollowed by pain and procedure, twisted into something raw, a cocktail of shock and simmering rage. "Of all the surgeons in this godforsaken city," he muttered, eyes boring holes through Alex's scrubs. "It had to be you." Alex set the cup down, hands flexing as if to ward off the chill. "Eric, I don't." The word cracked like a whip. He shifted, wincing as the bed rails rattled. "Don't Eric me. You lost that right when you ghosted like a spineless prick." Evelyn's hand found her son's, squeezing gently. "Baby, he's the one who pulled you through. Best in the Northwest, they say. Best at breaking hearts." "Too," Eric shot back. But his gaze flickered, to the 4 lines snaking from Alex's steady hands, to the faint lines etching his former lover's face. Time hadn't been kind to either of them. Alex's once jet hair was threaded silver at the temples, his broad shoulders carrying the slump of too many sleepless nights. But those dark eyes, liquid obsidian, still held the pull of gravity, drawing Eric in even as he fought it. "I didn't know it was you," Alex said finally, voice low, calibrated for de-escalation like any post-op consult. "Not until we cracked the chest. Your heart. It was bad. Lad occlusion. If the paramedics had been 5 minutes later, spare me the shop talk." Eric's laugh was bitter, aborted by a cough that sent fresh pain lancing through him. Morphine dulled the edges. But not this, the visceral ache of proximity. The man who'd promised forever now perched on his bedside like a vulture in a lab coat. "Why are you even here? Playing hero to assuage your guilt?" Alex leaned forward, elbows on knees, the stool creaking under him. "Because it's my job. And because I owe you this much." The words hung, inadequate as a band-aid on a bullet wound. He glanced at Evelyn, who watched with the wary neutrality of a woman who'd buried a husband and now faced losing her only child. "Mrs. Harlan, could we?" She rose, smoothing her scarf with deliberate calm. "I'll grab coffee. Y'all hash it out." "But Eric? Remember what the doc said, no undue stress." Her eyes lingered on Alex, a silent "don't you dare hurt him again" before she wheeled out, door clicking shut like a gavel. Silence stretched, taut as a suture line. Eric studied the ceiling tiles, counting pockmarks to steady his pulse. The monitors betrayed him anyway, beeps accelerating like a guilty heartbeat. "Years, Alex. 8 fucking years. And you waltz back in like it's nothing. Do you know what that did? I loved you. Built my whole world around you. And you just vanished." Alex's throat worked, swallowing words he'd rehearsed in mirrors 1,000 times. "I was scared. The program was everything, my ticket out of the air grind, my shot at real change. Then us? We were fire. Beautiful. But it burned too hot. I heard the whispers, saw the looks. My attending pulled me aside one day. Rivera's got potential, but that lifestyle? It'll tank you. I panicked. Thought if I let you go, I'd save us both. Save us. Eric's voice rose, edged with hysteria. You destroyed me. I waited weeks, months, showing up at your door, calling your scrub techs like a stalker. Your sister finally told me, he's focusing on work. Give him space. As if love comes with a fucking timeout. Alex winced. The truth a fresh incision. He dodged Mia's calls too. Let her carry the water. I was wrong. Cowardly. Selfish. I've regretted it every day, every empty bed, every case that reminded me of what I lost. Therapy. Rebounds that went nowhere. Nothing filled the hole. Eric turned then, really looked at him, searching for the lie. There was, in the crinkles around Alex's eyes, the faint tremor in his clasped hands. Vulnerability, unmasked. It softened something in Eric's chest, a crack in the scar tissue. But anger was a better armor. Regret doesn't stitch up the past. And now, my mom's dying. My ticker's shot. And you're the Grim Reaper with a stethoscope. Poetic? Huh. Not poetic. Cruel. Alex reached out, hesitating before letting his hand rest on the bed rail, inches from Eric's. But I'm here now. Let me help. Pushtup. Rehab, whatever you need. Eric barked a laugh. Real this time, laced with dark humor. Help? Like you helped by blocking me on every app? Transfer me to another doc. I can't. I won't do this dance again. The plea landed, and Alex nodded, rising slowly. If that's what you want. But Eric? For what it's worth. I'm glad you're alive. More than glad. He left the room with shoulders bowed, the door whispering shut behind him. Eric exhaled, long and shuddering, tears pricking hot. The monitors steadied, but his heart, repaired yet fragile, ached with a new rhythm, one that echoed Alex's footsteps fading down the hall. Discharge came 3 days later. A whirlwind of paperwork and warnings, no lifting. Low-sodium diet. Follow-up echo in a week. Evelyn fussed like a hen, packing Eric's duffel with hospital socks and contraband Jell-O cups. You're coming home with me, she declared. No room for debate. Her townhouse in Ballard overlooked the ship canal. A cozy nest of quilts and family photos, Eric's childhood grins frozen in time, oblivious to the fractures ahead. But Eric demurred. I need space. That Airbnb in Fremont, it's got a view. And I can Uber Eats my way through recovery. Truth was, her pitying eyes would drown him faster than any arrhythmia. He needed air. Distance from the sterile scent of regret that clung to his skin. She relented with a hug that smelled of lavender and chemo, her frame bird fragile under his arms. Call if the pain flares. And Eric? That man. Alex. Be careful. Hearts don't heal clean. Fremont welcomed him with craft breweries and graffiti-splashed walls. The Airbnb a quirky A-frame with exposed beams and a balcony strung with Edison bulbs. He collapsed onto the couch, chest throbbing dully under fresh dressings, popping a Percocet like candy. The first night alone was hell, shadows lengthening. Mind replaying or flashes, Alex's gloved hands in his chest. Not with malice but mercy. It twisted the knife deeper. By day 4, boredom gnawed. Eric fired up his laptop, sketching aimlessly abstract hearts, fractured and mended, veins twisting into thorns. Freelance emails piled up, but focus eluded him. Instead, he scrolled old socials, unblocked ghosts. Alex's profile, professional headshot. Smiling at a conference podium. Tagged saving lives. No personal posts. Just accolades and sunsets over the sound. Still hiding, Eric thought. A pang blooming unbidden. The knock came at dusk. Tentative as a held breath. Eric peered through the peephole. Alex? In civvies, faded jeans. Henley hugging his frame. A paper bag dangling from one hand. Eric? It's me. Brought groceries. Low sodium shit. Figured you'd forget. Heart hammering. Eric cracked the door. How'd you find me? Chart notes. And Mia, she's got a big mouth. Alex lifted the bag. Peace offering. Can I come in? 5 minutes. No scalpel? Scout's honor. Against better judgment? Eric stepped aside. The space felt smaller with Alex in it, his presence filling corners like smoke. They settled on the balcony. Rain misting the air. Takeout containers steaming between them, grilled salmon. Quinoa. The Dieter's lament. Talk, Eric said, poking at his food. Why the home visit? Afraid I'll sue for emotional distress. Alex chuckled. Low and rueful. Tempting. But no. Professional courtesy. And more. He set his fork down. Eyes on the canal lights twinkling below. Seeing you like that? On my table, it gutted me. Brought it all back. The good. The ugly. I owe you the full story. If you'll hear it. Eric's pulse thrummed. A mix of dread and hunger. Fine. But no bullshit. Alex. I'm fresh out of grace. It spilled then. Halting at first. Then Torrent, the residency pressure cooker. Mentors who prized marriages over flings. The family calls, his abuela's rosary beads clicking like judgment. The night before the breakup. Alex staring at their intertwined hands. Terror coiling like a snake. I convinced myself it was noble. Protecting you from my mess. But it was me I was saving, my ego. My facade. Eric listened. For still. The salmon cooling untouched. Parts rang true, the fear. The isolation. But others chafed, flings? As if their shared sunrises. The whispered vows in the dark. Meant so little. You could have fought. For us. Instead. You ran. I did. Alex's voice broke. Eyes glistening. And I've paid for it. Lonely climbs up the ladder. Cases that save strangers but can't mend what's broken. But I never stopped loving you. That's the worst part. The admission hung. Electric. Eric's throat tightened. Old wounds weeping. He wanted to hurl it back, too late, but the pull was magnetic. That same gravity from bar stools and beaches. Instead, he stood. Chairs scraping. I need to think. Alone. Alex rose too. Close enough to touch. Fair. But my number's in your discharge packet. Call if the pain. Any pain? Flares. He left with a brush of knuckles against Eric's arm, accidental? Or not, and the door clicked shut, leaving Eric adrift in the echo. That night, sleep came fitful. Dreams weaving o'er lights with memories haze, Alex's mouth on his, promises fracturing like glass. Dawn found him sketching again, not thorns, but tendrils. Reaching. Evelyn's check-in call midweek was a lifeline. "How's the invalid?" she teased, voice brighter than her labs warranted. "Surviving." Eric hesitated, balcony door ajar to let in the crisp bite. Alex came by. Silence. Then a sigh. And he apologized. The real kind, I think. Eric traced a scar through his shirt. Phantom twinge. What if I can't forgive? What if it's too late for anything? Her laugh was soft. Weary wisdom. Baby, hearts don't come with expiration dates. But they do scar. Question is, do you want him tending yours again? Or find a new surgeon? The metaphor landed. Wry and true. Eric hung up. Resolve flickering. By afternoon. He texted, coffee? Neutral ground. Tomorrow. Alex's reply, name the spot. I'll be there. The cafe in Wallingford was a hipster haven, exposed brick. Pour overstimine. Indie folk crooning from speakers. Eric arrived early, nursing a black coffee, nerves jangling like loose change. When Alex walked in, casual button-down, sleeves rolled to elbows, heads turned, but Eric's world narrowed to him. They talked circuits, Eric's Chicago years. The grind of gigs and ghosts, Alex's ascent. The hollow victories. Laughter crept in. Tentative, remembering that disastrous camping trip in the Olympics. Tents collapsing in the gale. But shadows loomed. The unspoken why now? As foam art wilted in their cups. Eric leaned in. This doesn't erase it. The abandonment. The silence. I know. Alex's hand covered his. Warm anchor. But maybe it's a start. If you'll let it. Eric didn't pull away. The touch lingered. A spark jumping the gap. And in that moment, amid the clink of mugs and rain pattering the awning, possibility bloomed, fragile, but alive. Weeks blurred into a tentative rhythm. Seattle's gray skies mirroring the push-pull of their reconnection. Eric's rehab was a slog, cardiac classes at the Y, where silver-haired retirees eyed him like an interloper. Treadmill sessions that left him gasping and humbled. But Alex was there. Not as savior but shadow, texts checking vitals. Drop-ins with meal prep containers labeled in Sharpe, no salt. Slacker. He was careful. This dance, brushing knees under diner booths. Fingers lingering in handoffs, but the charge built. Static before the storm. Evelyn watched from her perch. Chemo cycles sapping her color but not her insight. Over Sunday pot roast, her recipe, turkey swapped for heart-healthy lean, she cornered them in the kitchen. Suds bubbling from the sink. Y'all look like teenagers stealing glances. It's sweet, but tread light. Eric's mending, don't rip the seams. Alex nodded, drying a plate with exaggerated focus. Understood. Mrs. Ush. Scout's honor. She swatted him with a dish towel. Affection creeping in despite herself. Call me Evelyn. And Alex? Thanks for the consult last week. Your notes on her scans gave me hope. The word hung as they cleared the table. Eric catching Alex's eye across the lace runner, a shared warmth, fragile as spun sugar. But nights alone. Eric's mind churned, is this real? Or just guilt's long shadow? The scars itched. A reminder that trust was a muscle atrophied from disuse. The betrayal surfaced not in quiet moments, but thunderclaps. It started with a page during their first real date, dinner at a Queen and Bistro. Candlelight flickering over seared scallops. Eric had dressed up, crisp shirt, no tie, vulnerability tucked like a blade in his boot. Midway through Alex's story about a botched valve replacement turned triumph. His pager shrieked. Shit. Trauma incoming, car wreck, multiple Vicks. Alex flagged the waiter, tossing cash on the table. Rain check? I'll call. Eric nodded. Smile tight. Go save lives. That's your thing. But as Alex dashed into the night, Eric lingered over cooling wine. The betrayal's echo rising. Another emergency. Another abandonment. He paid the bill. Walked home through mist-shrouded streets. The bistro's glow fading like a lie. The call came at 3 a.m. Alex's voice ragged over the line. Eric? Case wrapped. You up? Barely. Eric rolled onto his back. Sheets tangled. How bad? Lost 2 kids. Breath hitching. Needed to hear you. Ground me. The rawness cracked something, Eric's resentment thawing under the weight of Alex's humanity. Come over. I'll brew coffee. Strong. But no judgments. Alex arrived disheveled. Scrubs rumpled under a jacket. Eyes shadowed. They sat on the A-frame's worn leather couch. Mugs steaming. Silence companionable at first. Then Alex cracked. I replay it, the screech of metal. The parents wailing in the hall. Wonder if I could have been faster. Better. Eric set his mug down. Hand finding Alex's knee. You can't carry them all. That's not how it works. Isn't it? Alex turned. Gaze searching. With us. I did carry you. In a way. Ghosted. But haunted. Every heartbeat I fixed. I saw yours. The confession pulled Eric closer. Orbits aligning. He cupped Alex's jaw. Thumb tracing stubble. And kissed him, slow. Exploratory. Tasting salt and sorrow. Alex responded with hunger leashed. Hands framing Eric's face as if he might vanish. They broke apart breathless. Foreheads pressed. Stay, Eric whispered. Just tonight. Dawn found them entwined. Bodies rediscovering maps long faded, freckles constellations. Scars braille of survival. It was tender. Urgent. A reclamation whispered in gasps. Mine. Still mine. But as light slanted through blinds, painting gold over sweat-damp skin, doubt crept. Is this love reborn? Or lust's bandage? The high crashed mid-November. Evelyn's decline accelerating like a runaway train. Eric got the call during a design pitch, virtual. Chicago client oblivious to his paling face. It's bad. Honey. Come now. He bolted. Ubering across the bridge. Heart lurching with every pothole. Swedish's oncology wing was a maze of beeps and bleach. Evelyn's room a dim sanctuary of wilting lilies. She was frail. Skin translucent over bones. But her eyes lit at his entrance. My boy. He took her hand, cool and birdlike, as nurses adjusted drips. Alex was there too, consulting. His presence a quiet bulwark. Palliative shift, he explained later, in the family lounge over vending machine coffee. Pain management's my wheelhouse now. For her, Eric nodded, gratitude warring with unease. You're good at this, holding space for the end. Not always. Alex's smile was ghost thin. Remember my dad? The big talk after his bypass? I froze. Spouted stats like a robot. Mom never forgave me. The vulnerability bridged them. Eric squeezing his hand. You're here now. That's something. But as days bled into vigils, cracks spiderwebbed. Alex's shifts pulled him away, emergencies trumping bedside hours, leaving Eric to shoulder solo watches. Evelyn's ramblings turning confessional. He reminds me of your father. You know. Strong. But scared of the soft parts. She'd pat his hand. Morphine slurring words. Don't let fear win again. Love's the only scar worth wearing. The night she coded, it shattered. Alarms wailed at 11:42 p.m. Eric jolting awake in the recliner. Alex bursting through doors in a flurry of compressions and defib. Clear. The jolt arched her body. A puppet on strings. But rhythm didn't hold. Code blue stretched eternal, meds pushed. Tubes snaked, until Alex called it. Voice leaden, time of death. 12:07 im. Air crumpled. Keening into Alex's chest. The white coat absorbing sobs like a shroud. They buried her 3 days later. Under drizzling skies at Lakeview Cemetery. Evergreens whispering eulogies. Friends milled, Eric's old art circle. Alex's colleagues, but the graveside felt binary, him and Alex. Hands clasped in dirt-damp earth. Grief hollowed Eric. A cavity deeper than any infarction. He retreated to the A-frame. Sketches abandoned. Fridge echoing empty. Alex filled the gaps, groceries. Laundry folded with surgical neatness, but distance grew. Unspoken. One night, over takeout faux sloshing in styrofoam. It erupted. You're pulling away, Eric accused. Chopsticks clattering. Every time shit hits, you bolt to the hospital. Like clockwork, Alex's brow furrowed. Defensive. My job. People die without me. And I almost did with you. The words flew. Venom tipped. You think this is easy? Trusting you after you bailed? But here I am. Trying. And you're halfway out the door again. Alex recoiled. Hurt flashing. That's not fair. I'm fighting, for us. Every damn day. Facing the board about personal conflicts. Dodging questions from Mia. I even told my attending about you. The patient who saved me back. Bergstilled. The admission a gut punch. What? Last week. After Evelyn. Alex's eyes were fierce. Unguarded. No more hiding. But if you want me gone. No. Eric surged forward. Bridging the table. Kiss fierce and forgiving. Say. Fight with me. They did. That night a tempest of bodies and confessions, nails raking backs. Names gasped like prayers. Dawn brought clarity. But fate had sharper plans. The call came December 1st. Eric's phone buzzing during a rare lazy morning. Alex's head pillowed on his thigh. Harlan? This is Dr. Patel from Chicago Memorial. Your echo results. We need to talk. The words blurred. Recurrent ischemia. Graft failing. High re-op risk. Come back stateside. We can schedule. Eric hung up. World tilting. Alex stirred. Concern etching his face. What? Complications. Eric's voice was steady. But inside, panic roared. The bypass. It's not holding. Alex bolted upright. Doctor mode snapping on. Show me the report. He scanned the PDF. Jaw tightening. Pseudoaneurysm at the anastomosis. Delicate fix. Redo sternotomy. Possible CABG revision. Eric's laugh was hollow. And the kicker? They want you. Say you're the only one crazy enough to touch it, your reputation precedes you. Alex paled. The irony a noose. Me. Again. Yeah. Eric met his gaze. Resolve hardening. Question is, can you? Without the ghosts. The silence stretched. Loaded. Alex cupped his face. Thumb stroking cheekbone. For you? I'd cut out my own heart. But doubt seeded. The ultimate test looming. Trust him with the blade. Or walk away whole but hollow. Prep consumed them. Second opinions? Scans stacking like indictments. Alex advocated fiercely. Charming Patel into a consultant Swedish. Home turf advantage. Yet tension simmered. Old wounds festering under stress. Eric caught Alex scrolling ex's profiles one night. Innocent research? Or cold feet? You checking escape routes? Eric snapped. Over whiskey neat. Alex flushed. Deleting tabs. Jealousy's a bad look. Harlan. It's survival. Eric's voice cracked. Last time you held my heart, you dropped it. The fight escalated. Words as weapons. Alex hurling ungrateful. Eric countering unreliable. Doors slammed. Silences iced. But grief's forge tempered them. Evelyn's urn on the mantle a sentinel. Whispering don't let fear win. NPO at midnight. Eric gowned up in pre-op. For cold in his vein. Alex scrubbed in beside him. Mask hiding turmoil. I love you, he said. Voice muffled. Then and now. No running. Eric nodded. Anesthesia blooming fog. Prove it. Bring me back. Lights dimmed. The plunge into dark. But betrayal's specter lingered. Waiting to strike. The ore was a cathedral of chrome and hum. Monitors chanting litanies of vitals as the team assembled like acolytes. Alex stood at the table's head. Gloved hands steady despite the quake in his soul. Eric's chest laid bare once more. The prior scar a zipper of accusation. Redo sternotomy, he directed. Voice surgeon crisp. Pericardium's friable, watch for adhesions. Maria nodded. Retractor clicking into place. The bone saw word. Parting flesh and memory with clinical mercy. But as the cavity yawned, complications bloomed, the graft wept blood. A slow seep-turning torrent. Suction, Alex barked. Clamping vessels in a frenzy. Pressure plummeted, 90 systolic. Dipping to 70, the perfusionist priming the pump with frantic urgency. Cross-clamp the aorta, he ordered. Heart-lung machine taking over with a mechanical sigh. Eric's core temp dropped to 28 degrees. Cardioplegia flooding to still the faltering beat. Yet doubt clawed, what if I fail him again? Not with a breakup's cruelty, but the final abandonment, death's cold hand. Hours stretched. A ballet of precision, excising the aneurysmal bulge. Weaving a new saphenous harvest from Eric's calf. Threading it like fate's fragile thread. Colleagues murmured awe, Rivera's wizardry, but Alex heard only his pulse. Thundering, don't lose him. At the 4-hour mark, as reperfusion flushed color back, a rhythm flickered, sinus, steady at 70. Cheers rippled, subdued, but victory was tentative. Extubation came in recovery's haze. Eric surfacing groggy, pain a dull roar under fentanyl. Alex was there, eyes red-rimmed. Hey. You're through. Eric's lips curved. Knew you would. Ghost whisperer. The jab landed light. Forgiveness in the slur. But as days stacked in ICU, tubes yanked, mobility creeping, shadows gathered. Whispers from nurses, Rivera's too close, ethics board sniffing. Alex brushed it off. But paranoia seeded. Then the email hit, formal inquiry. Prompted by an anonymous tip. Conflict of interest? Personal entanglement? Alex showed Eric during a stolen afternoon. Privacy curtain drawn. Someone's gunning. Maybe. Jealous of the heartbreaker, stealing shine. Eric propped on elbows. Wince forgotten. Or scared. Of us. The betrayal crystallized then, not Alex's past flight. But this fresh wound, exposure's blade. Wielded by envy or fear. Fight it, Eric urged. Hand in his. We came this far. Alex did. Deposition crisp. Truths laid bare. Yes. History. But the surgery? Gold standard. The board cleared him. But scars lingered, trust's new layer. Etched in bureaucracy. Winter deepened. Seattle's solstice gifting rare sun. Eric's discharge brought them to Alex's Lake Union condo, floor-to-ceiling views. Minimalist lines softened by Eric's chaos, sketchpad strewn. Coffee mugs ringed with rings. Rehab evolved to tandem runs along the waterfront. Breaths sinking like old times. Intimacy rebuilt. Layer by layer, nights of slow exploration. Mornings tangled in sun-warmed sheets. Yet the past's ghost demanded exorcism. Over Christmas Eve mulled wine. Tree lights twinkling off ornaments Evelyn had strung. Eric broached it. The abandonment. I get the why now. Fear's a motherfucker. But it broke me. Alex. Leave me small. Guarded. Alex knelt. Knees to tile. Vulnerability bared. I know. And I'll spend every day earning it back. No more running from you. From us. From me. Tears tracked. Unashamed. Marry me? Not today. But someday. Build the life we lost. Eric pulled him up. Kish siling vows on sulken. Someday. But first. Breakfast. Your turn to burn the toast. Spring unfurled. Cherry blossoms dusting the U-district like confetti. Eric's 6-month echo glowed clean, graft patent. EF climbing to 55%. He landed a gig with a local startup. Pixels birthing apps that pulsed with life. Alex, ever the climber, mentored residents on authentic leadership, his pride pin glinting on the lapel. Evelyn's absence ached, a hollow in holidays, but they honored her annual sound cruises, her recipe book dog-eared on the counter. One June Eve, as ferry horns lowed across the water, Eric sketched Alex dozing on the balcony, lines softened by peace, silver threads catching dusk. Stop staring, Alex mumbled, eyes cracking open. Can't. You're my muse. Eric set the pad aside, straddling his lap. And my miracle. Their kiss deepened, hands roaming familiar paths. Love's language fluent again. No grand gestures, just the quiet human truth. Hearts mend crooked, but they beat on. Betrayal's scar faded to silver. Testament not to perfection, but persistence. In Seattle's endless rain, they thrived, two men, woven against the gray. And if thunder rumbled distant, they faced it hand in hand, surgeons of their own salvation. Epilogue whispers, 2 years on, vows exchanged under the needle's glow, rings etched with veins of gold. Eric's next sketch? A heart, whole and wild, beating fierce into forever.